Welcome everyone. My name is Bertrand Squawe and here is a presentation of my final term paper titled A Deep Learning Approach to Fault Detection and Classification in Data Centers. This is a requirement for the course Advanced Topics in Computer Vision offered by Professor Bejet U. Toreyin. So without taking much time, I will dive right into my presentation. So I would begin by stating the main objectives of this paper. Actually, given the time frame that we have been limited for this paper, I would like to highlight this faster. So the main objective here was to design a deep convolutional neural network that is capable of detecting and classifying five um, server state operations. So the very first state that we try to detect was when the server is running at a 60% load capacity. The second state is when the server is running at 100% load capacity. The third state is if there is a main fan failure, can we detect that? The fourth state is when there is this CPU fan, if the CPU fan stops running. And the very last state was if there is a blockage at the server entrance. So you can see here at the image of the server and its rank, its rack, sorry. So to give you a holistic idea of what the problem statement is, I would like to introduce that there has been this tremendous increase in cloud applications, which has led to increase in cloud computing. This increase in cloud computing has resulted in increase in the number of servers in data centers. However, this increase in servers leads to high energy consumption, and unfortunately high energy consumption increases CPU overload. This CPU overload goes further to result in potential server failures, and these server failures can be of catastrophic loss both economically and financially. So we realize that high performance computing data centers are actually very prone to attack, given how cyber attacks has become so prevalent in modern days. There is this misconfiguration that can occur in the servers, and there is also the possibility of failures in these high computing systems. So all of these problems lead to what is called thermal anomalies. So in the past, maybe some 10 years ago, their data centers have been incorporating traditional thermometers to try to detect and monitor the temperature of data centers. However, thermometers haven't been so effective because you have to deploy many of them, and also thermometers can only detect a single point temperature values. Now, with the advent of sophisticated image processing techniques and machine learning techniques, there has been the use of infrared thermal imaging, which has quite gained a lot of popularity. So most modern day approaches that have been used to monitor the states of servers has actually resulted in the use of existing machine learning techniques and pre-processing techniques, also feature extraction techniques. So the problem with these techniques is that using machine learning techniques, this pre-processing actually requires a lot of time. It's time consuming, and the feature extraction, the manual feature extraction techniques that have been used are also highly time consuming, as you would see later. So my project, the methodology that we actually decided to work on this is to see how we can use deep learning methods, which has also really gained a lot of popularity in recent days due to the increase in computing power that has also become available to almost anyone. This work is a further continuation of the work done by the original authors of the paper that is titled A Research on the Intelligent Diagnosis of Servers Based on Thermal Imaging Technology by Hang Lui et al. So they, in their paper, they use machine learning, traditional machine learning techniques. So what they did is they use pre-processing techniques such as grayscaling, such as homomorphic filtering. Then later what they did was they now extracted statistical features. They did feature engineering by extracting statistical features, texture features, morphological features, which were then individually passed through through an SVM classifier. So this project, what I saw was the bottleneck with that project was that this using these manual techniques, it's quite time consuming. So this methodology I decided to implement in this project is to go directly and see how we can cut out that part of the work overload. So we use, in this method that we implemented, we use four main steps. So the first step was to crop the images, because the main part we were concerned with was actually where the servers are located, but the camera captures the entire server plus its rank, which is irrelevant for our classification model. So I built a standard deep CNN network. Then later on, I implemented transfer learning, which we use the pre-trained weight of mobile net version 2. So we also used data augmentation because our data set was quite limited to 1,350 images. Each of the 5 classes had 90 images each, so hence the need for data augmentation. So in order to experiment and see what works well, which models are good, I decided to train 3 different deep learning models. So the first model, I used a single convolutional neural network with data augmentation. The second network involved using a 2D convolutional using 2 convolutional neural layers, plus data augmentation. The third, I use a CNN with transfer learning, which used the mobile net version 2 pre-trained with. So here we can see the typical model summary of the model that was used on the right here. So I won't dwell so much on that. So with the 3 models that were implemented, these were the results that I obtained. So on the very left hand side here is the first model, which is just a single convolutional layer with 1 convolutional neural networks. Note that in this network we also have the max pooling layer. We also have activation functions which we use like ReLU and softmax activation functions. So the graph here shows our training of a single convolutional neural network with of the model that had a single convolutional neural layer and data augmentation. So here is the training accuracy. Here we can see the training loss. Here's the validation accuracy. Here's the validation loss for the first model. For the second model, here you can see the training loss. You can see the training accuracy. You can see the validation loss, the validation accuracy. For the third model, which now uses the transfer learning, the mobile net version 2 pre-trained weights, we can see that we have here the training. Okay, here we have the training loss, here we have the training accuracy, here we have the validation loss, here we have the validation accuracy. So this table below here gives you actually the real values that were obtained. These were this you can visually see them, but here are the values. So clearly you can see that the model that uses a single convolutional layer had a training accuracy of 87.88, validation accuracy of this, validation loss of 0.067, and it actually had the highest validation accuracy. The model that uses 2 convolutional neural layers had a training accuracy of this and a validation accuracy of this. Now using our mobile net version 2, we can clearly see that we had a training accuracy of 92.41 and a validation accuracy of 90.74. So with these results, they were quite impressive, which shows that for validation accuracy, the single convolutional layer model actually had the best validation accuracy. However, the mobile net had the greatest training accuracy. So for my conclusion for this project work, I actually had two problems. There were some bottlenecks that I faced. The first one was the fact that our data set was limited just to 1,350, given the fact that mobile deep learning models are data hungry models, and also deep learning models, they require high computational time, which my computer could not handle. So luckily I used the GPU for Google Drive to train my models. We can also clearly conclude here that the best model that gave the best training accuracy was the model that used the pre-trained weights of the mobile net version 2 of 92.41, and the best model that gave the best validation accuracy was the model that incorporated a single convolutional layer, and it resulted to a 97.65%. So the good thing about my work is that it actually proves how efficient the deep learning approach is compared to the machine learning approach which was used by the original authors of the paper, Hang Lui, because their accuracy was simply 91.11, but using the small data set I have and using all this deep learning approach, I actually had a significant improvement to their previous results, which was something I was proud of, and I can say I can possibly improve on these more accuracy values if I can generate a better, if I can have more data to train on, and then also have the time to experiment on different models. So for my future work, I have seen that if we are to deploy this in an actual data center, what we can do is that we can use a technique similar to online learning, where these thermal cameras can actually be placed and they continuously monitor the state of the servers, so that if an anomaly is detected, this image is automatically captured, sent to a folder. This folder can then keep storing each state image if it occurs, so that maybe after a period of, let's say, 6 months, 4 months, I don't know, whatever the data center manager decides, this model, they can automatically use this information that has been captured to retrain the model to augment the accuracy of the model they are using for monitoring. So I actually apologize for likely taking so much time, and I have come to the end of my project. Professor, I would like to really say that this project has been one of the greatest achievements I have had for the entire semester. I thank you for using this strategy to push us to further our research skills, to hone our research skills. I learned so much just by doing this entire project, and I'm proud that I was able to finish it in due time. Thank you so much. And thank you to my supervisor, Professor Hamza, who has been of tremendous help, always emailing me to find out what is my progress without even me asking, and helping me to get in contact with the original owners of the data set, because without that data set, this project couldn't have been a reality. So I thank you, Professor. Thank you, my supervisor, and I thank the Hang Lui, who is the original owner, for trusting us with their data set. If he didn't do that, this project wouldn't have been a reality. So thank you all for watching, and I hope you loved my presentation. Bye.